everybody, Chef Taylor here. Welcome back to the Rookster Cooks Lunch Club. I'm so glad to have all of you joining me here again. Today we're going to be making a roasted chickpea and quinoa salad. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about how to get our quinoa cooked up. So quinoa is a grain. We're going to cook it similar to how you would cook a rice, where you want the water to absorb into the grain. So I've got 1.5 cups of quinoa here and 3 cups of water. So you want double the amount of water for the quinoa that you're using. And I'm just going to cook it in a pot about this size. What we want to do is put the water in, bring it up to a boil before we add our quinoa, and then turn it down to a simmer. So that's our little bubbles that we want so that the quinoa can cook and absorb all of that water. It's going to take about 15 to 20 minutes. So I've already got that started, and you can go ahead and get yours started, and then we're going to move on and work on some of our cutting for our salad. Now, going in our salad, we have a few crispy elements that we worked on a few days ago. So we've got our roasted chickpeas that we made for our chickpea Caesar wrap. These were just roasted up in the oven, 450 degrees, with a little bit of salt, some oil, and some garlic powder. So they're super crispy and flavorful. And then I've also got some toasted sunflower seeds. I did these for the Caesar salad wrap as well. They're just got a really nutty flavor, so we're gonna add those in for a bit more texture in our quinoa salad. In terms of the knife work we're gonna do for this recipe, we have some parsley we're gonna add. This is just gonna be a fresh, bright flavor, a little bit of green color in our salad. I'm gonna mince up some garlic and work on our onions. I'm gonna start with the parsley. And you'll notice that we have stems and we have leaves. We wanna use both parts of our parsley. There's nothing wrong with the stems, but we're gonna cut them a little bit differently. So I'm gonna divide them so that I have the leaves in one pile and the stems in the other. For the leaves, what I wanna do is roll them up tightly and chop them up nice and finely. So I'm gonna take this hand, make my little C and tuck my fingers in, and I'm gonna rock my knife through the parsley. This is gonna add a little bit of bright flavor to our salad. If you don't have parsley, you don't need to add it. If you've got another fresh herb, you can try adding some chives, some basil, or if you have it, I actually really like fresh mint in this salad for a little bit of extra flavor. So that's about as chopped as I want my leaves. I wanna keep them pretty big because they're gonna wilt a little bit when we add the dressing to our quinoa. For our stems, because they're a little bit hardier, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna cut these nice and small. They're just gonna be a little added crunch. So I want a nice small chop on my stems. And then once I get all of these done, I'm gonna add them into my bowl and get them out of the way so we can work on our onions and our garlic. My handy bench scraper. Get everything off of my knife and clear out my board. Now, if you're doing this at home, make sure you've got an adult that's nearby who can watch you and just lend a hand if you need with the knife, and especially using the burner for cooking your quinoa. All right, my board is nice and clear. The next thing we're gonna work on is our onion. So I've already diced up half of it, and I'm gonna work on dicing the other half. We want it nice and small because the onion's not actually going to get cooked. So we want a nice little bite of onion without an overwhelming flavor. So with my half of an onion, I'm gonna show you how to dice it. So I'm gonna take it so that it's facing me this way, and I'm gonna make lines going horizontally. So just a few lines, but I'm leaving the end of the onion intact. This is gonna help hold my onion together while I work on dicing it. So just some thin little horizontal cuts. And now that I've made those, I'm gonna hold the end that's still attached of my onion, and I'm gonna go straight down vertically. And this is gonna give me those nice little squares I want for my dice. By keeping that end together until I'm ready for it to come apart, it just makes it easier to get a uniform size and shape. So now I'm to the end of my onion. I'm gonna make a few more horizontal lines and continue cutting vertically. Okay? This is a skill you want to practice because we're going to dice a lot of onions in a lot of our recipes. So it's always good to have an easy, tried and true method for cutting your onion. If something doesn't come out quite the size that you want, you can always run your knife through it a little bit so they get a little bit smaller. So you've got a pleasant size for your salad. All right, now that my onion's done, I'm moving on to my garlic. So the garlic for this recipe is going to get minced. So we want nice, smaller than bite-sized pieces, and it's going to go in our salad dressing. So the first thing I'm going to do, I've got my garlic peeled, and I've already taken off my little stem end. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to make my vertical lines, making little slices. I'm going to turn my garlic and go through again. So at this point I've got little tiny squares. I'm gonna do the same with my second clove of garlic. We're using 2 cloves. We want that flavor in our salad dressing. And once I've got them down into the little squares, I want it a little bit finer than that. Anytime you're putting something in a salad dressing where it's gonna be raw, like our Caesar salad dressing we made the other day, we wanna make sure we get it nice and finely minced. So I'm gonna do the rocking knife, and my hand here that's not holding the knife, that, you know, if you're at home should have your cut glove on it, that's going on the back of my knife and controlling the motion as I go back and forth until I get the size that I want. So the tip of my knife is staying on the board, and just the handle end is moving back and forth until my garlic gets nice and small. Get this all into my bowl so that it's ready to make my salad dressing. And the last thing we're gonna do before we make that salad dressing is just crumble up our feta. So this I have here is our feta cheese. It's pretty salty, it's got a really nice flavor, but we don't want too much of it. So we're gonna crumble this up into small pieces so that when we're ready to assemble our salad, it's good to go. So I'm just using my thumb and my few first fingers to break this up into little bite-sized pieces. It's gonna be like a little pop of flavor in your mouth when you eat the salad. Once my feta is all crumbled up, we're gonna move on and we'll start making our salad dressing. So I'll see you back in just a second. All right, chefs, so while my quinoa is cooking, I've got all of my onion, my parsley, and my garlic cut up. We're gonna work on our salad dressing now. So this is a really simple dressing that comes together quickly, and you can use whatever kind of acid, vinegar, lemon juice you have at home. So I've got my minced garlic here that we just finished. I'm gonna get that into my bowl. I've got honey, this is gonna be my sweetness. So I'm gonna put about a tablespoon of honey. This is also gonna help thicken up our salad dressing a little bit. I've got some salt, good pinch of salt in there. And for my acid today, I'm using white wine vinegar because that's what I have. But like I said, if you've got balsamic vinegar, apple cider vinegar, even lemon juice or lime juice, those all work really nicely in the salad dressing. So this is just a base formula that you can play around with. So I'm gonna add my vinegar in. I want about half a cup of vinegar in here. Whisk that together. When the acid first goes in, it's a little hard to whisk because that honey is really stiff. So I'm just holding it here before I start getting my oil going. Now this salad dressing is a little bit different than when we were making our Caesar salad dressing the other day. It's not gonna thicken up and hold together the same way, but we're still gonna whisk in our oil nice and slow so it combines equally. It's about twice the amount of oil than there is vinegar. So I'm just gonna whisk while I'm adding in my oil, and then we're gonna give this a little taste and make sure it's nicely seasoned before we put together our salad. Now something to keep in mind for this salad is that the quinoa doesn't really have any flavor on its own. So the flavor is gonna come from the salad dressing and from everything we add into it. The feta we're adding is pretty salty. So in terms of the salt, we wanna be careful with how much we add so we don't end up with a salad that's overly salty for our taste buds. I'm gonna add a pinch more salt to this. And just like that, our salad dressing is ready to go, and we're gonna come back in just a second to assemble our quinoa salad. All right, chefs, so our quinoa is all done cooking. You can see that it's a little bit lighter in color now. It's absorbed all that water from our cooking process. So this simmered for about 15 minutes, then I took the heat off and just gave it a little fluff with the fork to get all of that water nicely absorbed. And now we're gonna put together our salad. So I've got a big mixing bowl because I want enough space that I can get my spoon in there and really combine the elements of my salad. So I'm gonna put the quinoa in. And this is a salad you can have at room temperature. You can put it in the fridge if you want to chill it down and have the flavors combine a little bit more. It's really flexible. And like I said before, you can change it up. If you've got different herbs you can put in there, you could even put, some raisins or some dried cranberries in here or some apples. Whatever you have that you want to add a fruit element, a seed element, that can all go in your salad. So far I've got my onions and my parsley and my quinoa in there all together. Give this a little stir. You can see it's already looking pretty colorful in there. I'm gonna get my feta cheese in. Some Crispies, so I've got my toasted sunflower seeds and my crispy chickpeas. And can't forget our dressing that we made. So I'm gonna give this just another quick whisk before I pour this in. And then I'm gonna toss the salad one last time before we plate it. So this quinoa, if we let it sit a little bit longer, it's going to absorb all of that dressing. So it's really coating all those little grains, getting all that flavor in there, and I can smell the vinegar. So it's going to be really bright and punchy, but not too acidic. I'm going to put a few more chickpeas in because those are always my favorite part. All right, it's looking pretty good so far, and let's get my bowl so we can have lunch. I'm going to put just a few more chickpeas and some sunflower seeds on top. All right, there we have it, our roasted chickpea and quinoa salad. Thank you so much for joining me today for another meeting of the Rooks to Cooks Lunch Club, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, if you're cooking along with this at home, to have an adult help you with any of our knife work or using the burner, and play around with what ingredients you might have in your kitchen. If you've got some lemons, make that into your vinaigrette. All right, see you next time.